Hi, everyone. I'm Thérèse, and this is New York Girl Again, The After, the podcast for caregivers who have survived the hardest chapter of their lives and are now gathering both the courage and the strength to write the next one. Welcome back to Season 2. Last week, in our Season 2 premiere, I shared that this week I would be joined by my friend Theresa Gratton, founder of Flying Fabrics by Theresa, for a conversation about the power of dance. And that conversation is still coming. But Theresa's dad is in the hospital, and of course, that is where her heart and attention need to be. So first, I want to send love to Theresa and to her dad, and to everyone who is sitting beside a hospital bed, waiting for answers, making phone calls, listening to doctors, watching monitors, fighting back tears, and trying to stay steady when life suddenly shifts. Because caregivers know this truth deeply. Life can change in a heartbeat. One phone call, one diagnosis, one fall, one test result, one change in condition. One unexpected moment can rearrange the entire day, the week, and sometimes the entire direction of our lives. And as I sat with the change in plans for this week's episode, I realized how fitting it actually was. Because if caregiving teaches us anything, it teaches us how to embrace a change in course without missing a beat. Caregiving rarely follows the plan. You can have the calendar organized, the appointments scheduled, the medications lined up, the meals planned and prepped, the entire day mapped out. And then one phone call, one symptom, one change in condition, one unexpected need can rearrange everything. Caregiving teaches us very quickly that control is often an illusion. And it's so ironic, isn't it? To be a caregiver, you have to have things under control, while also being able to function just as well, if not better, when things are completely out of your control. And that flexibility is truly a skill. For many caregivers, flexibility becomes second nature. We learn to adjust. We learn to pivot. We learn to let go of the plan we had in our head and respond to the reality in front of us. Sometimes that means canceling something we were looking forward to. Sometimes it means changing plans at the last minute. Sometimes it means making peace with good enough, not perfect. But most of all, it means remembering that the people we love matter more than the schedule we are trying so hard to keep. We learn to pivot with the skill of an acrobat, don't we? There's an episode of Friends that I often think about when I'm in a position that requires pivoting and I need a little laugh to get me through. It's that episode where they are trying to move a couch up a flight of stairs and Ross is losing his patience and yelling, "Pivot! Pivot!" I still laugh every time I hear that. And honestly, every caregiver understands that scene on a spiritual level. Because caregiving is one long series of pivots. But I've been thinking about this a lot lately, especially in the after. Because the need to be flexible does not end when caregiving ends. In many ways, it becomes just as important. After caregiving ends, many of us forget to give ourselves the same grace we gave everyone else. We were flexible for everyone else. We were patient with everyone else. We understood when other people needed time, care, rest, understanding, or compassion. But when it comes to ourselves, we can become incredibly hard. We expect ourselves to rebuild quickly, to know what comes next, to have it all figured out, to get healthy immediately, to become productive again, to organize the house, to restart our careers, to reconnect socially, to grieve gracefully, to move forward on schedule. And then, when life doesn't unfold according to the new plan, we judge ourselves incredibly harshly. But what if flexibility is not just a caregiving survival skill? What if flexibility is also one of the gifts caregiving leaves behind? What if the same ability that helped us respond to crisis can now help us build a meaningful life in the after? I think flexibility after caregiving looks different. In the after, flexibility can become something softer. It can mean allowing ourselves to begin again imperfectly. It can mean changing direction without calling it failure. It can mean trying something new without needing to be good at it right away or ever. It can mean understanding that healing does not happen on a calendar. It can mean letting joy return in unexpected ways. And it can mean trying new things and pivoting towards something or somewhere else if it doesn't bring us peace, purpose, or happiness. This is one of the things I want Season 2 of New York Girl Again the After to explore. Not just what we survived, but what we learned. Not just what caregiving extracted from us, but what caregiving gave to us. And one of the things it gave many of us is the ability to adapt. Think about it. Caregivers are some of the most adaptable people in the world. We know how to read a room. We know how to sense when something is off. We know how to shift plans quickly. We know how to handle uncertainty. We know how to keep going when things are not ideal. And we know how to show up even when the day does not look the way we expected it to. That is incredible strength. But the challenge now is learning to use that strength for our own lives too. Because life after caregiving is also unpredictable. Some days we feel hopeful, and some days we feel lost. Some days we are energized by the possibility of a new chapter, and other days we miss the routine of the old role, even if that role was exhausting. Some days we are ready to dream again, and other days we just need to get through the day. And all of that is part of the after. Flexibility reminds us that we do not have to rebuild our lives all at once. We can take the next step, then the next, then the next. We can revise the plan. We can reschedule the conversation. We can begin again tomorrow. We can choose a different path. We can pause without quitting. And we can start small and still be moving forward. This week, I found myself thinking about how often we confuse a changed plan with a failed plan. But they are not the same thing. A delayed interview is not a failed episode. A missed workout is not a failed training plan. A messy day is not a failed life. A slow season is not a failed future. Sometimes a changed plan is simply life asking us to respond differently. And caregivers know how to respond. A changed plan is not always a failed plan. Sometimes it is simply love asking us to rearrange our priorities. And I think every caregiver understands that. So maybe the invitation this week is not to force everything into place. Maybe the invitation is to ask, how can I be more flexible with myself? Where am I demanding perfection when what I really need is compassion? Where am I calling something failure when it may simply be a change in timing? Where can I let life breathe a little? Because flexibility is not giving up. It's not settling. Flexibility is the ability to bend without breaking. It's the ability to stay open, to keep moving, even when the path changes. And for caregivers navigating the after, that matters. Because the next chapter may not unfold exactly the way we imagined. Take longer. It may surprise us. It may ask more patience from us than we expected. It may begin quietly or imperfectly. It may begin with one small decision to keep going. But it can all still be beautiful. Next week, I look forward to bringing you the conversation with Theresa Gratton about the power of dance and how it can help heal caregivers in the after, and really, all of us. And maybe this delay makes that conversation even more meaningful. Because dance itself is the ultimate pivot. It is movement. It is adjustment. It is rhythm. It is trust. It is learning how to follow, how to lead, how to recover, and how to keep moving when the music changes. And maybe that is exactly what the after asks of us too. So as we close today, I want to leave you with this thought. Caregiving may have taught you how to adapt for others. But now, in the after, you are allowed to use that same flexibility for yourself. You are allowed to change the plan. You are allowed to start again. You are allowed to grow at your own pace. You are allowed to build a life that honors where you have been while still making room for where you are going. Thank you for joining me for this episode of New York Girl Again, The After. If this episode resonated with you, please consider sharing it with a friend. And join our growing community at newyorkgirlagain.com. Thank you for continuing to write the next chapter with me. Until next time, remember, your story is just beginning.